All right, thanks to those joining me live and those joining me on archive. This is DStyleBoxing, joined by Haplotype. What's going on? What's going on, bro?
Not much, man. Thanks for having me on.
Sure. So, big fight coming up. Mikey Garcia versus Adrien Broner. It's getting before we break down the fight or anything. Are you surprised? And maybe it's because of the Mayweather Conor craze. I don't know, but are you surprised how little coverage and attention this fight's getting?
I'm more surprised how little Canelo and Triple G's getting. This one I've been hearing, videos here and there. Yeah, I think it would be getting more if it wasn't for McGregor Mayweather. I think that's sucking all the oxygen out of everything.
Yeah, it is, especially with this fight up and coming. I don't know if you saw Adrien Broner on First Take, where he literally said, "I'm not here to answer questions or talk about Conor McGregor versus Mayweather." But he's got no interest in that. At least that's what he said. But even though I think I saw him at one of the events, but whatever. But the one of the press conferences. But I am surprised, man, especially with the fight like on its way. You know what I mean? Like it's. I don't know what it is about boxing lately. Like all these fights, it's just me, but they're sneaking up on me. Like it's. They all feel like they're a ways away, and then it's like, oh, it's this weekend, and that's how it was about Pacquiao versus Horn. Even with Klitschko Joshua happened, it just caught me that weekend, and it's just me. I don't know.
It's been that way this year because I think we're starting to get more of the fights that we want to see versus other years where we wait 6 months for one good fight. So yeah, I have the same feeling. Like things keep sneaking up on me, and this is one of them. I was actually planning on doing a video on this today, but I'm glad to be doing it with you instead because I want to hear what you think about it.
Well, and we're going to get to it, but another thing is before we get to the fight, the odds. I haven't seen the odds in a while, and they tend to get closer together the closer the fight gets, but I think Broner is a bigger underdog against Mikey Garcia than right now than Conor is to Floyd, or at least it's close. Is that shocking to you? The fact that people think Broner has the same shot against Garcia than Conor against Floyd. I mean, I don't mean to bring up that fight again.
Yeah,
but
that's shocking. When you put it in perspective of Conor, yes, it's shocking. I'm a little bit shocked that that Broner's not the favorite.
You're shocked that Broner also okay. So not only is it Garcia shouldn't be the favorite, Broner should be the favorite, in your opinion.
Well, I'm not saying he should be, in my opinion. I'm saying that I'm surprised that he's not, based on other people's opinions. Because
I just pulled an alley setback. I took what you said out of context. But
no, just ask me who I think will win between Pacquiao and Mayweather.
Who do you think would win, Pacquiao or Mayweather?
Pacquiao.
I mean,
you still ask that question, I think.
So you think that? So you're saying that Broner's going to destroy Mikey? Is what you're saying? like shut up. But anyway, shut up, Ali.
That was a funny video you did earlier. Yeah.
It's crazy because it was one of the videos where I came on and I was thinking of all these things that he said. I didn't know where to start. It was just one of those things, with Ali.
Well, the thing that used to piss me off about him was like how he would always go to that Mayweather-Pacquiao question. I think more than anybody else, he was responsible for keeping that whole thing alive, even like right after Pacquiao got knocked out. I remember him posting like an interview with Roger Mayweather, and Roger Mayweather had been saying like all along, like, "Oh, Floyd doesn't need to fight, man. Screw that. Like, stupid fight, blah, blah, blah." Then Pacquiao gets knocked out, and he's like, well, I think the fight could happen now.
Right. Yeah. You know, we could do a whole another video about that. I mean, the stuff they were saying that, oh, Manny's on that stuff that the Philippine soldiers were in. When they got shot, they wouldn't feel anything. It's crazy, man. There's no doubt that 2009 Manny, Floyd was sweating that Manny Pacquiao. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, he didn't want to do anything about that.
But let's talk about this fight here. Broner versus Garcia. I might in this video, it might slip out. I might say Danny Garcia, but I mean Mikey Garcia, obviously, right?
Right. That's not a bad fight, by the way.
Yeah, that is a good fight.
Danny versus Mikey. I might favor Mikey in that one.
You know, you can't do Garcia, so the poster will have to say Mikey Danny, you know?
That would be weird.
I think Garcia is like all small or something. But Mikey Garcia, man, versus Adrien Broner. I do believe that I'm fine with Mikey being the favorite, but the fact that he's like something ridiculous, like I think 5-1 favorite or something, I think it's kind of off to me. You know, it's I don't think that's right in my opinion. You know, but you know that's what the odds put, that's what the bettors put. So you know, it's their money, not mine. But
yeah, what I'm seeing here, DStyle, I don't know how to read odds because I'm not really a betting man, but it's saying Broner is a plus 173 and Mikey's a negative 290 on this particular website. It's
probably close. Plus websites, they'll have it different at times.
Yeah,
it's probably close because Connor started, I think, like 20-1, and then it closed right away. Right. So it's probably closed. I mean, that usually happens on fight week. But nonetheless, 3-1, 2-1 underdog is fine to me. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. Adrien Broner, the elephant in the room with him is consistency. Which Adrien Broner is going to show up? The serious Adrien Broner or the clown? If it's the clown, he don't stand a shot against Mikey, right? If he's serious, he has a shot, right? So before we break it down or anything, well, what do you think about that, about Adrien Broner's consistency?
Well, I think, I mean, that's right to a certain degree, but I think when someone's that inconsistent, it tends to make them more susceptible to, you know, losing, even if they are in their top form. Like, I thought the best Broner that I saw recently was, you know, not recently, but the most prepared Broner I saw was the Emmanuel Taylor Broner. And that Broner was deadly. I think he came off a close fight with Molina, and people were criticizing him, and he took it, you know, more seriously, and he trained really hard, and he came in looking really good against Emmanuel Taylor. Now, you know, that only lasted that one fight. But even if he came in against Emmanuel Taylor and he was in shape, and let's say Emmanuel Taylor was more like Mikey Garcia, where he was, you know, very high level and serious and all that, very fundamentally sound, the fact that Broner did the preparation for that one particular fight might not make that much of a difference. Like, he might be preparing for this fight like he did against Emmanuel Taylor, but you got to think, like, his last fight against Granados, he didn't do that preparation, and he just hasn't been consistent enough. So it's tough to say. I think he's he's going to have a problem in this fight at some point.
Well, like here's my thing. So before I get to, what do you think of the Maidana fight? You think Broner was prepared for that fight?
I think he probably took Maidana a bit lightly.
Okay. I tend to agree with that. You know, I don't know if he would have beat him anyway, but I think maybe the knockdowns could have been avoided, and who knows, he may have pulled out a decision. But here's my thing with Broner, right? One, when you I think Mikey in this fight is going to utilize a jab to the body, and when you throw a jab to the body at Broner, right, he doesn't use his feet that well, okay, to move back, right? So what happens is that Broner puts his lead hand down, okay? He tends to do that a lot. Okay, when you throw body shots at him, you know, which is, I'm not saying you're not supposed to do that, but you also got to use your feet. I mean, Broner is very, or has been fighting very flat-footed. Okay, and if he's not using his feet against Mikey Garcia, I don't think he's going to be able to anticipate the shots upstairs. So if you look at that Maidana fight, Maidana was throwing hard punches to the body, and they were not designed to land. They were designed to have Broner block them and anticipate them. You know, so when he first knocked down Broner, he started to punch as if he was going to go, he telegraphed it, like he was going to go to the body, but he actually went upstairs, and Broner he didn't see it coming. Mikey Garcia, I think, is far more calculated than that. And I think I believe anyway, and it's the same trainer, by the way. It's the same trainer that he's facing.
I think he might have gotten that from sparring with Mikey.
It could have been. I mean, that's definitely possible because I know they were sparring partners. But you know, Robert Garcia is a trainer here. It's the same game plan. Even before that, though, if we backtrack a little bit, remember, Paulie Malignaggi gave Broner a tough fight, and nobody was expecting that.
Yeah, I thought he won.
You know, who do you think won?
Malignaggi.
Malignaggi, I had it really close. I won't argue with you, but it was really, really close. Remember how Paulie was throwing that jab to the body?
Yep.
And Broner, he kept that hand low. Now, you can't have your lead hand that low a lot. And Paulie was catching him, but as we both know, Paulie isn't known for his power, like, you know?
Yes.
I believe Mike is not only a better boxer than Paulie. I don't think he's as fast, in fairness. I think Paulie has faster hands than Mikey, right? But he has more power than Paulie Malignaggi. You know, we have yet to see how that power is going to translate. I mean, I know Mikey's been knocking guys out, but I think this is a step up in competition for a while for him, and he had that whole year. He was in boxing, the problem with Top Rank. I don't know if that's why you think maybe he should be the underdog in this fight, or whatnot. But
I would just think off of hype, like of, you know, how many fanboys are out there, like, and how Broner is more like of today. You know, Mikey's sort of a throwback dude. He wears the cowboy hat. He doesn't talk much. He's not a flashy guy. Like, I would think that, you know, in the same way that people are getting behind McGregor, that they would maybe get behind Broner. But then again, Broner's disappointed a lot of people a few times. So.
Yeah, he is. And my thing is, though, Mikey is undefeated, though. We live in an era where undefeated records, you know, people are scared to pick against the undefeated guy. You know what I mean?
But Broner's undefeated under 147, though. Just kidding.
Isn't Cotto like still undefeated in Madison Square Garden or something like that?
It's something like that.
I don't know. He lost to Trout there, actually. But I know they hyped that up like for a while. He's undefeated in the Garden. Like what? But yeah. There's two different Broners, the undefeated one and the other one. Okay. Here's how I have to. This is the way I like to predict fights. Okay. If they both bring their A game, who wins? That's how I like to predict fights. Okay, I can't bet on what if he has an off night, what if he doesn't, right? Because we don't know that. So if they both bring their A game, I think what's going to happen is I believe Mikey's going to throw that jab to the body. Broner might evade it early, but he's going to set him up upstairs. Mikey's got pop. I don't think he hits as hard as Maidana, but he's going to catch Broner upstairs. And the other thing that Mikey has that Maidana didn't, he has much sharper punches, right? He's a sharp puncher. He has really good punches down the pipe, nice straight shots, you know, and he can also throw some looping shots too. Maybe not as good as Maidana, but he could throw them. Decent, you know, body puncher. and I think he's going to wear down Broner. I think at some point, I think Broner is a type of fighter that needs to have control early, or be in the fight early, because I've never seen Broner come from behind. I never seen, like, every time Broner is, like whether it's the Porter fight, the Maidana fight, he'll show you heart and he'll try to come back, but he can't overcome that. And I don't think this time's going to be any different. I don't think he's going to overcome being outboxed early. He might get even a little more desperate. I mean, this will be the third time he's going to lose. He doesn't like to lose. So I honestly believe Mike is going to win by decision. Okay, not knockout, decision. But I think it's going to be competitive in the second half. Right? I think it'll be competitive in the second half. I don't know how competitive, but I think it'll be competitive. So Mikey Garcia, 7 rounds to 5, 8 rounds to 4. That's kind of in the ballpark that I kind of envision Mikey Garcia winning. What I don't see is the beatdown that a lot of people are predicting. Like I think it's laughable, in my opinion anyway, how people are just counting out Broner. Like it's just, Broner's going to get his ass beat. He's going to get knocked out. I see people predicting mid-round knockout, early round knockout. I personally don't see that. I don't see Mikey might drop him once or twice early on. But I don't think he's going to put Broner away. I think Broner is good enough to survive in there, and I think he'll be all right in the second half. How do you see this fight going?
Well, I mean, that's a very good analysis. I can't argue too much with that, and all makes sense. I'd factor in a few variables here. The one that you said earlier, where I think Broner feels disrespected by the fact that he's not the favorite. I think he personally thinks that he should be the favorite. I would think he would think that in any fight, just based on his personality. And I think he might possibly come out and try to start fast. Where I think that would be playing right into Mikey's hands, because Mikey, he's a chess player. He's like you. Like he is born into this. Like, he's been in the gym his whole life. He's seen his brother, be successful. He's seen his brother become a great trainer. He listens to his father. I think he's his father's pride and joy when it comes to actually boxing in the ring. I personally think that starting fast could be a mistake. If Broner does that in particular, I could see Mikey getting the knockout in the mid rounds. And I agree with you that he's not that fast. He's not, definitely not a Meldrick Taylor. And, for some reason this fight, even though it's not as significant as this other fight I'm about to mention, because neither of these guys is a champion, but, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Arguello versus Pryor, just because, he's coming up in weight and he's a classic boxer, and Broner is more of a, stylist and has his own way of doing things. So, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. But I think in this case, the fundamentals, the discipline, and the patience is going to play into Mikey's hands. And I also think that, he's not that fast, but he's used to sparring with all types of guys. I mean, you got to think of the sparring he gets over there at the Garcia gym. I mean, he spars with the Maidanas of the world and the Brandon Rioses of the world, and I'm sure they have a bunch of fast guys and guys that use the shell defense over there. So I think he knows how to offset speed, hand speed, with his timing.
Yes.
And And I think that's going to be the main factor, offsetting that hand speed with his timing. Not Mayweather. Broner's foot speed is terrible, so they're going to be, relatively even there. But it's about offsetting Broner's hand speed with his timing, and I think he could catch him if Broner gasses early.
Well, if Broner starts fast, that will be a mistake. Especially Broner. I think the biggest problem I have with Broner is all the breaks he takes throughout a fight. Right?
Oh yeah.
He takes a lot of breaks, like 20 seconds. It doesn't sound like a lot of time, but 20 seconds without throwing a punch is a long time. And he'll have those gaps in between where he's just, it seems to me anyway. I don't know if it's fatigue. I don't know if he's trying to plan something out, but there's a lot of gaps there. But the troubling thing here to me, when I envision somebody beating Garcia, right, I honestly envision someone with very, very good footwork.
Yeah.
Like that's it has to be someone with great footwork that's going to offset, Garcia. I mean, Garcia, he reminds me a little bit, actually. I don't know what you think about this, but he reminds me a little bit of Fernando Vargas. Right? He reminds me a little bit of him.
Yeah.
It's where he can box. He has really good boxing. But he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's got very good power, or respectable power anyway. And he doesn't really make a lot of mistakes, Garcia. Like, his weaknesses aren't really mistakes he makes. It's like we talked about, doesn't have the fastest hands in the world, doesn't have the fastest feet in the world. But he doesn't really make a lot of mistakes. He doesn't square up a lot. When he lands a punch, he doesn't admire his work. It's where Broner does have these tendencies. Broner does have a big tendency of squaring up a lot. So if Garcia can, step to the side, and every single time, because I've seen Broner, when guys step to the side of him, he squares up. And if Garcia can take advantage of that, especially with those sharp punches down the middle, it's going to be a long night for Broner. Now, I still stand that he's not going to knock him out, because I think Broner's tough enough, and I think he's adequate enough to survive in there. So I'm kind of saying he's going to go through survival mode, but we'll see. I mean, maybe Broner can expose stuff out. This is the exciting part about boxing. Maybe he could expose something of Mikey that we haven't seen other guys expose.
Yeah, I agree. This is the greatest thing about boxing. I mean, we can sit here and predict all day long, but whatever happens in the ring could be the opposite of what we think is going to happen. I think, though, that Broner might be. I think he might have damaged himself by partying too much. In a sense, I think he might not be as resilient to punching as he was like a couple years ago. This is, early 20s, you're invincible. Mid 20s, you get a little less invincible, and so on it goes. But I just see it in his face alone, like just how he looks in pictures and everything else. Like, you can see the wear and tear he's put on himself. It's not so much from boxing as living that fast life, Yeah.
But also what's surprising to me is after losing to Maidana, he didn't learn from that right away. It just, he just didn't learn from it. He kept, he was beating the guys after that, but I mean, aside from the Taylor fight, but I mean, what did he really do that that showed you or me, anybody, that he's a whole nother fighter? I don't think Broner has shown improvement since his losses. He hasn't.
Well, a lot of people point to the Theophane fight. I didn't really see that whole fight. I don't know what you think about that one. To me, he looked the best against Emmanuel Taylor. But what did you think of Theophane?
Well, Theophane doesn't even hit that hard. That's number one. I saw Theophane live once, actually. I saw him here at the County Coliseum. That's when he fought an up-and-coming Danny Garcia, which was actually a competitive fight, believe it or not. But that was a very young Garcia.
Yeah, I remember
that. He wasn't really Garcia wasn't developed yet as a fighter. He was just an up-and-coming kid at that. He was a prospect at the time. But I've seen Theophane fights other than when I saw live, and it's, if we're honest, this is a C-level fighter. I mean, it's not somebody that you can really gauge. It's a classic, halo effect. It's
yeah.
If he doesn't look good against Theophane, then hang him up at this point. You know what I mean? So he's supposed to look good.
You think Emmanuel Taylor was a tougher opponent than Theophane?
I do, yes.
Yeah, so do I.
I think, but then again, didn't Emmanuel Taylor lose to Algieri?
I
think.
No, I don't think it was Algieri. I think it was Emmanuel Taylor. I think he had just lost to oh God, was it? No, I'd have to look it up, but I don't think it was Algieri.
I'll just look it up right now.
I'll look it up here. Here we go.
I don't know why I keep thinking it's Algieri.
Maybe it was. It could be. So he's lost 5. Before Broner, where's Broner? See, most recently lost to Matisse.
Yeah, he beat Emmanuel Taylor before his win over Ruslan. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Emmanuel Taylor's first loss, I believe. So we got to put in perspective. You know what I mean? Like it's like, how highly do you rank Algieri?
No, Emmanuel Taylor's first loss was Pernice Brewer.
Okay, maybe I'm.
Yeah,
I guess this was his record before he lost.
You're right, Algieri, but then he beat Kareem Mayfield. That was the one I remember. I was thinking of Kareem Mayfield. Yeah, because I had a few little debates about Kareem Mayfield back in the day, but when he beat Mayfield, I was pretty psyched. He did. He lost to Algieri. You're right.
So that's I mean, we're looking at that Algieri level of fighter. I mean, when you're talking about Emmanuel Taylor, you know what I mean? So it was a good win by Broner. I think it was a good performance. He showed us a lot in that fight, but that's not quite, I think this is a higher level now. You know what I mean? So
I think definitely in terms of pedigree, for sure. I mean, Garcia is a big pedigree.
Yeah. So we're gonna see what happens. Of course, I actually think you think it's gonna be an exciting fight? You think it's gonna be like fun to watch?
It could be. I mean, I think Broner's really mad.
Yeah.
The only way it'll be exciting is if Broner comes out trying to take his head off. And, that's not typical Broner, but, I mean, in this case, I think he's been through so much that it's possible. And if that happens, I think it would be exciting. But in general, I would think of the excitement level would be about, medium. Where, the Hawk versus Arguello was, I would say, like a 9 or a 10 in terms of exciting.
Right. Well, I kind of feel like, this fight is going to be tactical. That's how I feel, because they're both not like, they're very tactical, both guys. You know what I mean? They're a different type of technician.
Nobody's a Maidana in there.
Right. But it could be good, though. It's, you never know. It might start off as a chess match, but good punches start landing. And, the interesting part is what guy is going to be forced to lead, at this point. or which guy is going to choose to lead. So if Broner chooses to lead, you know, that's not really his wheelhouse, is it? I mean, he likes to be in the center of the ring, you know.
It's not his typical wheelhouse. I think, see, Mikey is so solid in every area. It's like, it's hard to imagine, you know, that somebody who fights like Broner, who's trying to do unconventional things and not doing them as well as the people who he's copying, you know, could possibly beat him in any scenario other than the fact that he's just so much bigger, which I don't think he is really. You know, I think both guys are relatively similar in size. I mean, maybe Broner, you know, packs on a few more pounds in between fights because...
I mean, Garcia could fight at welterweight if he wanted to.
I hope he does eventually, but I think, you know, Mikey Garcia is just, he's so fundamentally sound, man. I always say, you know, like it's the can man versus grandpa. Remember they used to call Robert Garcia grandpa?
Yeah.
So I kind of call Mikey grandpa too because he's so careful and precise. I mean, the way he throws his punches and he lands them, like you said, Maidana was difficult because he was unconventional and threw stuff from various angles, but Mikey is just precise. Like he's one of the most precise punchers in the sport. So, you know, I think he's going to catch Broner. I don't think there's too much of a question about that. I mean, it's just a matter of how much power does he have at 140, and I expect it to be pretty darn good.
So Broner is 5'6". He has a 69-inch reach.
That's good.
You know, for a 5'6" guy, that is a good reach. Yeah. Mikey's same height. He's 5'6", 68-inch reach. So I don't know how long their arms are there, but, you know, I imagine they're pretty similar.
I think Broner's arms are longer. Mikey has a pretty wide shoulders, you know.
Okay. You know, but I think, you know, it's going to be interesting, man. You know, they're both the same height. You know, it's
similar reach.
Similar reach. It's always misleading when a guy moves up in weight and he's fighting a guy at that weight. It doesn't necessarily mean he's smaller. You know.
Well, isn't Broner moving down in weight though?
Well, he fought at 147, so yeah.
I mean, it wasn't his. I might be mistaken, but his last.
What was Broner's last fight? It was the.
Broner's last fight was Quadros, I think. No.
Granados. Wait, he didn't even look at good in that fight, by the way.
And that was at.
Which, by the way, in that fight, in the Adrien Granados fight, I mean, he was getting hit to the body, man. Like it's
a lot of people have him losing.
What's that?
Didn't a lot of people have him losing that fight?
Yeah, I mean, it was debatable. You know, he was getting hit to the body a lot. You know, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Granados take it at short notice or something in that fight?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
Because he was complaining about how you can never have a full camp. Like, why doesn't somebody fight me when I have a full camp? You know. So, like, you have to wonder here, because no offense to Granados, and maybe it's because he's never had a full camp. I don't know, but I can't put him in the same class as Mike. You know. So.
Like I said, man, Mikey comes from that family. Like, they're serious, dude. I mean, that gym out there, you know, all the stories I hear coming out of there are like, that's a serious freaking play. It's like the around LA, that gym has a better reputation for being serious than the Wild Card gym even.
Yeah. I mean, they're serious business. I mean, they're not messing around there, you know?
No, they're not. The
other thing about, you got to give Robert Garcia this, man, if anything. The guy, he has a game plan, you know.
Yeah.
and he has a really good reputation with game plans. You know, I mean, I have other problems with Robert, like his inability to, you know, throw the white flag for his fighters and stuff like that when it's over. You know,
or the fact that he hangs out with Ellie Sackback so much.
Yeah, that's problems like that. But I will say, man, this is the guy that set the game plan for Maidana when he fought Mayweather. You know, like
right.
it's like he had that game plan. He set the game plan to beat Broner the first time. You know, so you know, I think another thing that I didn't really touch on, Mikey's jab, man. Mikey has a really good stiff jab.
Mikey has a good everything. That's the thing. He's fundamentally sound, serious dude.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, his fundamentals are on point. I agree.
On point.
I think everything's good, but his jab is better than good. He has a great jab.
Great jab.
It's a well-developed jab. I mean, that jab is it's textbook, man, and it's not telegraphed at all. Like, you know, so I think, I mean, he throws that. It's a nice classic jab, but it's well thrown, man, and it's stiff, and you know that can throw Broner off. You know, it's. What do you think of Broner's jab? I've never been a big fan of Broner's jab, but what do you think?
Well, he's got an up jab. He tries to throw it from, you know, he does that, you know, whatever shell they call it. I mean, I remember someone asking Mayweather, God, this is a vague memory, but someone asking Mayweather if he uses a Philly shell. He's like, no, I use a Walcott shell, whatever shell he's using, but where you have the arm strapped across your waist and you jab up. It's not very good, in my opinion. It's definitely not as good as Mayweather's version of it. I know. I wouldn't think it was as good as Tony's version of the same, or definitely not Walcott's. You know, I'm speaking of Jersey Joe Walcott, not Barbados. Yeah. But yeah, it's like medium. I give it a 6 out of 10, maybe. Mikey's, I would give probably a 9.
Yeah, like I would say that Mikey has like that classic falling step, like Jack Dempsey jab. You know?
It's a perfect jab. It's like a textbook jab.
Yeah. You know, like you know, we're boxing nerds and we're like admiring jabs. You know, but you know, it's the jab isn't as easy as people think. You know, it's like I still remember when you remember De La Hoya was doing a really good job against Mayweather, like in the first 5 rounds.
Yep.
And he said, like after the fight, like he couldn't throw it anymore. Like it got tired. Like his arm got tired.
Well, when you pop a jab, dude, it really, I mean, when you're doing it, it feels so good. But after you do it the next day, or even if, I mean, over the course of 12 rounds, I would think probably, you start to feel like you're stretching all those ligaments out so much the way you just pop it so fast. You know,
not to mention, like, if you add fainting to that, you know.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because you exert almost the same amount of energy with a fucking feint than just throwing it. Probably more. Who knows? Because you're kind of stopping the momentum. You know what I mean?
It wear and tear on all those little fast twitch muscles that you're doing, and you're tearing those things. You know, that's what happens with muscles. Like when you exercise them, they're tearing and then they're building back up. So, yeah, I mean, I can totally understand what De La Hoya was talking about, because if you're popping a jab like that, you know, as much as he was, you know, at his age at that time with the wear and tear on his body, like I could see him losing the ability to do it in the later part of the fight.
Who do you think has the best right hand of the two? The straight right. The straight right, over right, whatever. Just right hand in general.
I'd give that an even, because I like the way Broner twists with his right. That's one advantage of keeping your left hand so low. It makes it easier to twist that right hand out. But Mikey has the textbook right hand where, you know, you've got your left hand up. I'd give them both 8s out of 10 on the right.
You know, as I'm thinking, because I'm thinking here, because Broner does the poor man's version of Floyd's shell, but a very poor man's, but it's still effective though. You know,
Hey, that's right.
it's got him where he's at. But which, by the way, you don't think Connor should have hired a Broner as sparring partner?
Dude, I was thinking that the other day when you were talking about why did he pick Malignaggi, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, maybe you should have Broner come in. That's funny you mentioned that.
Well, this is what I want to say. I mean, I don't know what you think about this, because like it's funny, because the more you start talking about one fight, the more scenarios pop up to your head, and more things are popping up to my head. So one part is, what if Mikey, because Mikey's punches are textbook punches, but that shell is made to block and defend yourself against textbook punches, you know?
Right.
That's what it's designed to do. That's not how Maidana was catching him. Maidana was throwing some real looping shots like over his head while Broner was against the ropes.
That right was coming down. He was throwing it from high up, coming down almost in a way I've never almost seen before.
Right. I mean, you got to give Maidana credit for that. But what do you think about that? Because I think, you know, it's if I were to play devil's advocate for Broner, is maybe, look, I'm not saying, you know, his defense is as good as Floyd's, right? But if that defense is, in fairness, made to block those types of punches, you know, so you think, I'm sure, I mean, if I know that, I'm sure Robert Garcia and Mikey know that, right? But do you think we'll see Mikey throw some looping shots in there? Because I think he's capable of it. I've seen him throw like overhand rights, which he's going to need here. I think the overhand right is going to be more effective against Broner than the straight right. You know, I don't know what you think about that, but you think Garcia might have some problems, you know, with that defense?
The thing about Mikey, I think, in my opinion, is that he's done so much sparring over the course of his life with so many different styles that he feels comfortable and happy in there with no matter what someone else is going to be doing. I do see what you're saying, where a very super orthodox style could play right into Mayweather, not Mayweather, excuse me, Broner's hands, because Broner's, you know, style is sort of designed to offset a super orthodox style. But I think when you come with timing and expertise and calmness, and you can go in there and you can watch somebody and see, okay, when I throw my orthodox straight right, he does this. So the next time he does it, I just think Mikey has the better computer, you know, like, whereas if Mikey was fighting Mayweather, I would think Mayweather would have the better computer. Like, you know, I don't think Mikey could beat him because they're both doing the same thing in a different way. They're watching the other guy and computing, taking notes, and then exploiting whatever they see eventually. But with Broner, I don't think his computer is that fast. I think he's working on like a Pentium 3, and Mikey's on like a Pentium 5 over there.
Well, I think, to answer I was just playing devil's advocate, but the thing with Broner is the difference between Broner and Floyd. Number one, I think Floyd, even at this age, has better reflexes than Broner.
No drinking, no partying.
He's also more disciplined, but I think like in the ring, he has better reflexes. Number one, but number two, more importantly, like the legs is the second part of that defense, right? So like one thing about Broner is if you double up the jab, you know, or you throw the jab to the body, he puts that guard down, that shield comes down, right? That's how Paulie Malignaggi opened him up, you know. And if Paulie did it, even though Paulie has faster hands, in fairness, I mean, I think he's going to have to respect the jab to the body of Mikey a lot more than Paulie's, number one. and there's a bigger price to pay if Mikey lands upstairs, But the other thing is, like, when I see many times where Broner blocks the first right hand with his shoulder, and it's a beautiful block, but he still stays there. He's still he's flat-footed in there. Like he's on quicksand. He doesn't move. You got to move out of the way because they'll follow up with another right, and it usually lands.
Well, he keeps his feet so wide apart that it's hard to bring into action. Floyd has shown really good foot movement, even in his older age. Against just watch the watch the Guerrero fight. I mean, the way he was dancing in that fight, and also against Marquez, like his leg movement, his foot movement's perfect. He does keep his feet pretty wide apart, but not like Broner, where he's almost like in a hammock.
But he has an exit strategy when the legs are far apart.
Yeah,
there's an exit strategy there. You know what I mean? Where Broner, he's constantly like that.
No, when Broner gets in that wide stance, it's like he's laying in a hammock. He's right there. You just have to hit him. That's it. I mean, he ain't moving. And I remember back when I think it was Fair Shake who made a video extolling the virtues of a young Broner, where he was dancing a lot and he wasn't fighting like Floyd. And before a certain fight, and then after the fight, he had to admit, okay, he's not doing that anymore. I haven't seen any kind of Ali shuffles coming from Broner, since he was an amateur. So, he's going to be there. He's in the pocket. It's all about
this is the difference between Floyd and Broner. So when someone throws, let's say, a 3-punch combination at Floyd, right?
Yeah.
It's like 1, 2, 3. He blocked them all. Where'd he go? You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden he's way over here. You got to reposition yourself because he's no longer there. He's gone, right? It's like that's why when people say, "Oh, he's a magician in there," that's what they mean, right?
Right.
But Broner, even if he does block, boom, 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 he blocks all 3. He's still there. Like he hasn't gone anywhere.
Yeah, it's a personality thing too, because he's looking to mug and smile and make some kind of weird gestures to get the crowd going and impress his friends. Like if he blocks 3 punches, boom, 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 he's turning out to the audience to go see, look how good I am, and then he gets hit. And
another thing, since we're talking about the Pauly fight and even the Maidana fight, it seems like he can block the first 2, 3 shots very well, but his IQ level is not that high, like Mayweather's, his ring IQ. He doesn't have the ability to block more than that, it seems. And maybe it's because Mayweather uses his feet, and the feet have a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, because anybody could block 1 or 2 punches, but if someone's throwing 5, 6 punches at you and you're standing in the same spot, it's very hard to not get hit by 2 of those punches.
Right. So that to me, the breaks he takes, the white stance, he's athletically gifted. That's why he gets away with these things, or has been. You know what I mean? But as you're fighting someone who is polished and someone who has those fundamentals down, you can pay the price, man. Like in other words, I've seen fights where I'm like, Broner could destroy this guy. If only he changed a couple things, he had the Emmanuel Taylor fight. I think he made that fight tougher than what it had to be. Okay, I think Emmanuel Taylor, didn't he just get knocked out by Matisse this year?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's. A lot of fights, with the exceptions of some like the Ash Ethiopian fight, he made them tougher than what they had to be. You could go all the way back to the Ponce de Leon fight.
Yeah, well,
Ponce de Leon would tee off and he would still be there, so he would throw some more. That's why some people felt Ponce de Leon won. You can make an argument either way.
Well, I think Ponce de Leon was his Castillo.
Yeah, you could say that. But
it was guys typically only get 1 or 2 lucky breaks in their career, but Broner, I think, has had 3 that I can think of off the top of my head, and that's one of them.
I want to read this comment really quick. This is by Beating the Odds with Beeb. What's up, Beeb? Right, so Mikey is great at hooking off the jab. The left hook is what dropped Broner against Maidana. I can see Mikey touching Broner with a jab as a feeler, and then as Broner thinks he has the rhythm down, I can see Mikey changing up speed and then start hooking off of it. That's a good point. He can walk into that hook. Well, what do you think about that?
Beeb makes a lot of great points always. I want to say what's up to him. Yeah, I mean, hooking off the jab for Mikey, it could work. It typically works better for guys with more hand speed, but I think his timing is so good. He's used to fighting guys with faster hand speed.
Well, I don't mean to quote McGregor, but timing beats speed.
It does. That's true.
But precision beats power. Precision beats power, and timing beats speed.
It's not easy, though. I mean, you can say that all day long, but let's see you do it. I've seen Mikey do it. And Beeb might have a point there. I just think if his hands were, let's say, if it was Meldrick Taylor in there, that would definitely work for sure.
Well, Meldrick Taylor will probably beat Broner into rounds, I think. I don't think Broner would even know what the fuck happened, but that's another topic. By the way, Meldrick Taylor, fastest hands ever?
Ooh, I think Gary Russell's hands are pretty damn fast, dude. I was actually live in the front row ish versus Lomachenko there, and I mean, he's got amazing hand speed. I mean, Leonard, I got to give it to Leonard because he had the most success with it.
Well, I mean, Leonard himself said he felt Taylor had faster hands than him. So,
but wasn't he a commentator back then?
Was he a comment? What?
At that point, wasn't he commentating when he said that?
I think it probably was commentating. He wasn't saying it as a fighter, no.
Yeah. I think he was just doing his job as a commentator to hype up the fight. I think I judge hand speed by how effective. How effective is it? Leonard to me was my favorite, but yeah, Meldrick Taylor's up there for sure. I mean, he's 1 or 2.
I mean, as far as being effective with combinations, he's up there. It's that's one quick dude, man.
Scary. He was scary with this combos.
But terrible game plan against Chavez, but that's another topic.
Terrible game plan, but I'm saying when it comes to throwing combos, you don't see too much of that like you did with Meldrick Taylor today. I mean, who's doing that now?
Yeah. Nobody. Not like that. In my opinion.
People say this is the best boxing ever. It's not.
No. The best athletes aren't getting into boxing anymore. At least not from the heavyweights, and you could make arguments for the lower weight classes. I think featherweight had its best year not that long ago, in the late '90s, early 2000s. But as far as this fight here, just to kind of close off. So I got 15 minutes before work here, but what are your final thoughts on this fight, man? Garcia and Broner.
My final thoughts are, it's nice to see something that's I always try to relate things to a throwback. I mentioned earlier, Arguello versus Pryor. It makes me think back to that and all the fun things about that fight, the bottle with the asthma medicine and the cheating and this and that. And you know, the way that Pryor kind of owned the first part of the fight, and then Arguello took over. And I think, like, well, if it weren't for that bottle of asthma medicine, would have Arguello should have probably won that fight. And then there's, you know, Panama Lewis and all that stuff. All that stuff is fun, and people should go check that fight out too, just to get themselves acquainted with that kind of stuff. This fight, I see Mikey Garcia, textbook, breaking me. God, why do I keep saying Mayweather? Baby Mayweather, down, and Broner is gonna lose. He's just, you know, even if he comes in shape, I think the other guy is just more disciplined. He's calmer. He's grandpa. You know, the can man is going down, in my opinion.
I also think that you got to give the corner advantage to Mikey Garcia. I think he's got the better corner.
Yeah. Who is in Broner's corner, by the way? I don't even know.
Unless he's changed corners, it's the same corner.
Is that his dad?
No, that's not his dad. His dad's that big dude.
Yeah.
But no, it's not his dad's corner. Really I don't know if his dad's in the corner, but that's not what I'm. That's not the chief second.
Okay.
No, but Mikey, the only downside about Garcia, as I said, he's terrible at just throwing the white towel when there's no hope for his fighter.
Right.
He's just terrible at that. You know what I mean?
So with his brother, he might be a little bit more apt to throw it in.
Yeah. Some people brought up the weight. I don't know how much the weight's going to affect Broner or Garcia. One's moving up, one's moving down. But like my thing is that there's no way to really know. I hate making predictions based off of those X factors. You know, like it's like I said from the beginning. I like predicting fights on if they both come in at their best, who wins. You know, that's how I personally do it. And that's how I'm predicting this one. But just for argument's sake, Hyplo, what do you think about, you know, how do you think they're going to handle the weight? I don't think they're going to have a problem, but what do you think?
I think Broner might have a problem. Mikey's had weight problems too, in fairness, but that was much lower.
Yeah.
And he's a pretty
which
big
kind
guy.
of shows you that he shouldn't even been in those weight classes.
Yeah, I think that, you know, Mikey's been quite protected in his career. I think they've done a good job of minimizing risk, you know, not, you know, that's sort of the order of the day in boxing, like minimize risk. But if anybody has problems with making 140, it's going to be Broner. And I think if he does make it, he might be a little bit dry. He might be a little bit drained at that weight.
Do they have any odds out on whether or not Broner will make weight?
Oh, geez. I don't know. Like I said before, I'm not a betting man, but, you know, I can see why Mikey's favored, you know.
You know, he's definitely going to have to work there. So yes, did he have more of a weight camp than a training camp? We'll see. Somebody put the name, Mike Stafford, that's his name. The B put that name out there.
Mike Stafford. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, can you put him up there with a Robert Garcia?
No.
Like I said, man, Robert Garcia, like the fight that comes to mind, the Margarito fight with Manny Pacquiao. He should have stopped that fight.
But if that was Mikey, you don't think he would have stopped it?
I don't know. I don't know if it's blood. I don't know if he acts differently. I don't know.
They seem to love Mikey so much. He's like the baby, you know. Like I know I was the baby in my family, and they all protected me, you know, more so than they would have my brother.
Can he subconsciously just you know, without knowing that he's really worried, throwing the towel? I mean, if it's the right thing to do, he should, obviously. You know what I mean? But he doesn't have a really good reputation, man. I think you spoke about, wasn't it Mikey that he looked terrible at a weigh-in, and they had to cancel the fight or something?
No, he lost his belt on the scale.
Right.
I can't remember what fight it was, but he lost his belt on the scale because he couldn't make weight, and then they had done one of those HBO, you know, documentaries on it, and they showed him after, and he was puking, and you know, whatever. He still won the fight, but he was in bad shape. He looked like a skeleton.
Yeah. I mean, but my point is, how can Garcia even, like, you're there with him, dude? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you should be able to see, like, the condition that the guy's in. I remember how pale and white he looked. I mean, he was more white than Conor McGregor in that scale. You know? I mean, that's insane. You know, so it's in that department. There, you know, if you want to call it too old school, whatever it is, you know, he'll ruin somebody's career because he doesn't stop the fight. You know, you should be, as a trainer, you should be willing to lose your friendship with that fighter, and willing to get fired to protect that fighter. If you're not willing to do that, then you shouldn't be in that corner. That's my opinion, right? It's boxing. It's a hurt business, you know, like Sugar Robinson said, it is. So I understand that. But when there's no hope and your guy's just getting battered around, then you should stop that fight, you know?
I agree.
As far as, you know, Garcia, though, again, this is the guy that set up that game plan. You know, like, I honestly believe it or not, I think Garcia would have put a better game plan for Pacquiao than Freddie Roach did when they fought Mayweather. You know?
I agree.
He's good at game plans. He's good at strategy. He always has a plan B, a plan C. And that, to me, that's the advantage that Mikey Garcia has going in when it comes to that training.
Thing.
Yeah. So we'll see, man. And Garcia, he knows how to, and he does everything. You know, he knows how to fire up his fighters, and he knows how to give them good advice. You know.
Yeah, so, I think if Broner's smart, he comes in with the black cowboy hat to counteract the white cowboy hat and make it like an old cowboy movie. With the
like wear the outlaw thing over his mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Like the bandana. Like, come in looking like the bandana and let Mikey come in looking like the sheriff. That would be cool.
Yeah. You know, best entrance ever, or like, remember when, not to end it soon, but remember Casa Mayor versus Casitas?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay. Casitas came out like with the armor and wearing the Spartan helmet or whatever.
Yeah, like the gladiator stuff. Yeah.
Like cool. He was walking out to the ring, like first Casa Mayor came out, then Casitas walking out, and then he like stopped midway and turned over to the ring. And you had like Casa Mayor talking shit like all the way from the ring, and you know they were holding up like the Ring magazine belt, and that was kind of cool.
That was cool. I think this one would be cool with a cowboy theme.
Yeah, you know, old Western theme. You know,
yeah,
that'll be interesting, man. But here are my final thoughts. I think Mikey Garcia wins. I think he wins by decision. I think he knocks down Broner at least once in this fight. Broner's stance is way too wide. You know, Garcia's hook is very dangerous. We never got to the hook, by the way. But I think he has a better hook than Broner. Do you agree with that? No, maybe?
I'd give Mikey's a 8 and Broner's a 7. Yeah, so Mikey's is better.
I think he has a better hook. So we'll see. And I think whoever is first in this fight, I know that's very vague, but whoever's first, whoever, you know, is, you know, however it happens in the first 2-3 rounds, it's going to really dictate the rest of the fight. I think Broner comes on late. He shows up fashionably late to fight sometimes, a little too late, you know, but we'll see how that goes, man. I want to thank you for joining me.
Of course.
Right? And we'll see if we'll do any videos later on in the week or next week or whatnot. All right?
Absolutely, man. Thanks again for having me, and have a great evening.
All right. Peace out, guys.